Little Caesars has 5 hot and ready items at only $5 each. Choose from a large hot and ready classic, 8-piece Caesar wings, 4 20-ounce beverages, family-sized bacon cheddar loaded Crazy Bites, or new family-sized cinnamon loaded Crazy Bites. It's a deal so great, even my newborn is excited. What's that? She just said cinnamon loaded Crazy Bites? Her first words. $5 hot and ready deals only at Little Caesars. At participating locations plus tax.
Pizza, pizza.
Blog Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday night. This is Off the Chain. I'm your host, Yvonne Mason, and we are getting geared up for the new year. We took a few days off, and now we are back. And my very first guest is author Stephanie Osborn. She has been with us before, and now she's back because she's got some interesting news. Now, few people can claim to have the very background that Stephanie has. She is also known as the Interstellar Woman of Mystery. She's a veteran of more than 20 years in the civilian space program, as well as various military space defense programs. She worked on numerous space shuttle flights in the International Space Station and counts the training of astronauts on her resume. Her space experience also includes Spacelab and ISS operations, variable star astrophysics, Martian aeolian geophysics, radiation physics, and nuclear, biological, and chemical weapon effects. Stephanie holds graduate and undergraduate degrees in 4 sciences: astronomy, physics, chemistry, mathematics, and she is fluent in several more, including geology and anatomy. In addition, she possesses a license of ministry, has been a duly sworn certified police officer, and is a National Weather Service certified storm spotter. And I'm tired from just reading all of that. I count Stephanie as one of my friends. She is a true Southern woman. She hails from Alabama, and I have to tell you, I am so proud of her, I don't know what to do. So let's find out what she's been about these last few weeks. Hey, sweetheart, how are you?
Hey, Yvonne, I'm doing good. I didn't mean to wear you out.
Makes me tired. Just so tired. What a life you have led, my friend. I'm telling you what. 4 degrees and fluent and others, and you're just getting started good.
Well, I'm trying. I always figure, the day that I stop learning is the day you can plant me 6 feet under.
And that is very, very true, because if we don't continue to learn, we become stagnant in our life and in our thought process. And my mother always said your brain is a muscle, and if you don't exercise your muscles, they atrophy. So if we don't exercise that brain, then it just goes to sleep and doesn't wake up.
Pretty much. And I've seen that happen to people, so I know that it does go like that.
Yeah, they just sort of sit in a corner somewhere and don't say anything or do anything or go anywhere or be anybody.
Yeah. So that's
go ahead.
That's not who I am. That's not what I am. I don't think I can do that. I have to be careful when I'm researching one of my books, because I'll get lost in the research.
You're not the only one. Oh, there's a squirrel. Off we go on a different path.
Yep, that's it.
And then I start making folders. Oh, this will make a nice subject. Oh, I need to put this over here because I might use it later. And pretty soon my terabyte of memory is filled up with maybes.
Yes. Or I come back to, I was looking for a particular thing to flesh out this one sentence, and 3 hours later I come back and realize I still don't have that one thing to flesh out the single sentence.
Yep, I do. The struggle is real.
Yes.
The struggle is very real. And what I find interesting with people with dementia and Alzheimer's is if they don't keep, even though they don't know who their family members are, they still have the long-term memory. And people don't like to sit and talk with them, which to me is a disservice to them because it still is exercising the muscle of the brain.
Right. It's so painful for the other people that they just tend to avoid it, but the person actually needs it.
They do. And if they sit down and have a conversation with them, they'd find out all kinds of history, of family history, that once it's gone, it's gone.
Oh, yeah.
You can't ever get it back. So any of you people out there that have family members with dementia, Alzheimer's, even if they don't know who you are, you still know who they are. Tap into that resource because you have got a gold mine of information if you just tap into it and sit down and talk with them and listen to them. Because once they start, you're going to see a light come on behind their eyes, even if it's just for a little bit. Would you agree, Stephanie, that when people get lost in that long-term memory, that's pretty much where they stay and they're happiest because people discount them?
I can't say for sure because I have not had that much experience with it. Those types of things don't run in my family so much. But from what I have seen, I would have to agree with you. Yeah, and some of that is actually based on reading the research too. It seems like yes, they have a tendency to get lost in places that they knew, and by that I mean they lose themselves in their memory. They reminisce. That's where they spend their days.
Because it's comfort to them.
Yeah, it's something that they is actually familiar to them when their current surroundings may not be.
And when they're taken from, let's say, their home, they may not know who their family is, but they know that's their home. They're comfortable there. And then when they're uprooted, and they might wander off, and a lot of them do, and a lot of them get violent. And then when they're uprooted and put into a facility that has nothing familiar, that's even more disconcerting for them.
Well, yeah, it's just like anybody else. You wake up one day and suddenly you're someplace you don't recognize.
I do that fairly frequently here. It's disorienting, and I can do that in a hotel room on a trip. It's like, where the heck am I? Oh yeah, that's where I am. Yeah, I remember now. And I've woken up from a nap and thought that it was the next day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And when I was working, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and think it was time to go to work.
I was, some few years back, I had some major surgery to remove a benign growth in my abdomen, and so I was in ICU while I recovered from it. And I fell asleep, and I was dreaming that I guess that I was getting ready to get out or something, and that I knew my husband was coming to get me or coming to see me. And so I had it in my head that I had to get up and get ready. And so, I'm slit open from stem to stern, and it's only a couple days out. So, no, I wasn't ready to get up and leave the hospital. But I tried to jump out of bed as I was waking up. So I was already in motion before I was fully awake. And I've got IVs and EKG leads and the compression thing that they have on your legs with all the air tubes, and I wound up hung off the side of the bed. I had so many wires and cables and tubes attached that I couldn't get to the floor. My feet couldn't get to the floor. So I was hung over the edge of the bed. Unfortunately, it was on the opposite side from the call button. So that kind of got interesting real quick. I just started screaming.
I'm getting me.
Well, it hurt too. It hurt because I was slit almost from sternum to pubic bone, So.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it was not fun. But yeah,
I can't believe that the machines didn't go off and they didn't come see about you.
Well, I didn't have those kinds of machines on me, and evidently I was still close enough to sleep that my pulse hadn't spiked yet. From oh crap,
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Yeah. So, I just started, but by the time I realized what was going on, I just started yelling. And I got the nurse's attention, and she got to the door. She was, oh my God, she was more panicked than I was at that point.
Just help me get back on the bed. Pull yourself together.
But she had to take everything off in order because I was already out of the bed. So I had to actually get to the floor, stand up, crawl back in the bed, and then she could hook everything else back up. So I get this. It's like
Stephanie,
you wake up, you don't know where you are.
And you definitely can't be left on your own. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
In that same frame, which leads us to something that we didn't get to talk to the last time that I wanted to talk about, is one of your passions, and that is literacy, which makes the brain exercise, which makes us knowledgeable, which hopefully will make us have wisdom. Your husband wrote or illustrated a book called All About Rhymes, and we didn't get to talk about that last time, and I wanted to hit that before we got on to your good stuff, because the sooner we start children on the love of reading, the better off we are, because in this day and age where we have all this technology and kids are hooked up to iPads and iPhones and this and that, and they can't see the forest for the trees because their heads are stuck in electronic equipment. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I love my technology better than anything, but I still love my books. So, are we or are we not? Are we or are we not doing our children a disservice by not teaching them?
You know, I think we are, because what the situation we're in right now is we are not teaching children the things that they need to know to get along in the world. We're teaching them to pass tests. Okay? So
right.
The teaching of cursive writing has in large measure been dropped from the curriculum across the country. And that's a bad thing, because I've seen the studies that indicate that there are synaptic connections that are made in the brain through learning and regularly writing cursive that are apparently not really made in any other way. So we're talking about something that develops higher order brain functions here. I'm not talking about, basic animal instinct or survival or anything like that. I'm talking about the stuff that makes us humans, that makes us sentient, that makes us something more than an animal. There are developmental processes that are being dropped from our curriculum because it's no longer viewed as pertinent or essential. And so, I learned to write cursive. There are connections that formed in my brain as a result that you can go out here and you can pull a freshly graduated high school student with an A+ average off the street, and he won't have the connections in his brain that I've got in mine.
Because the brain hasn't been taught how to make those connect, because cursive writing is a connecting of letters to form words, which form sentences. And yes, you can do that with what we used to call the print factor, but you're not actually connecting those letters together.
Right. It's what kids write these days. The way they write is the same way you and I wrote when we were first learning to write, just
right.
individual block letters. And, you go back and you look at something like the Declaration of Independence. They don't know how to read it.
That's true. And if technology were to blow up,
and let me tell you, if we ever have a Carrington event where the sun belches out a monster big solar storm, a huge ball of plasma that slams into Earth and overwhelms our magnetic field, and yes, it has happened, then it's going, and because it happened in the 1800s, and we know what happened then. And we didn't, and all they really had back then in the way of long distance communications and stuff was the telegraph, and it took down the telegraph system in large measure in many respects, because it was burning down telegraph poles, it was burning up telegraph stations, it was shocking the telegraphers, it was blowing up the batteries, burning through the wires. Now think about what we've got today with our modern infrastructure.
Just in electricity alone.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention water power and
long distance
telecommunications.
Yeah, most non-military satellites will fry. Your cell phones are gone, honey. Your cable
no more cable TV,
gone, honey. Your internet is gone, honey. It's all down. So yeah, and so there is. I have a concern, and of course, in the case of a Carrington level event, we've got whole other problems to look at. But it's going to result because the communications lines will be down, the power will be down, all this stuff will be down. It will be absolute chaos.
And your electric cars won't run anymore either. Gas stations won't pump gas.
Bingo. So yeah, there's some and you know
scanners won't scan food in the grocery stores.
So this is
people will have to learn how to count change again. What a concept!
And there's another thing that kids are not being taught. You know, is I can't tell you the number of kids, the number of people that I've seen at cash registers. Our computer's acting up. We can't check you out right now. Well, it's got the prices marked. Well, I'm sorry, I can't do. They can't do the arithmetic.
I don't know how to add and subtract and put the sales tax on there.
I used to tutor, and I would tutor in STEM, science and technology, mathematics, etc. And I was tutoring one girl. She was a senior in high school at a private school. She was taking Algebra 2. I watched her work her way through an algebra problem and get all the way down to what I refer to as plug and chug, where you take your actual values and you plug it into your algebraic equation and you crank out the answer. And it was really simple because when she got it reduced down to its most fundamental level and then plugged in the numbers, it was 2 times 13. She reached for her calculator.
Oh, no, she didn't.
Oh, yes, she did. I smacked her hand away and grabbed her calculator and wouldn't give it to her. I said, you can do this one in your head. She said, no, I can't. I never learned my multiplication tables.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Getting ready to graduate high school and could not multiply. She wound up multiplying it out on paper. Could not multiply 2 times 13 in her head. So,
well,
yeah.
I have a problem with 8 times 7 and
well, you know,
6 times 8, but other than that, again, most multiplication tables I can do in my head.
But yeah, so I mean, all you got to do is double it. 26. Darn, you know, I don't even have to think about it.
But we're back to that cursive writing.
Yeah, brain connections.
Linking, right.
They're dropping stuff that makes those fundamental brain development patterns happen, and they're dropping stuff out of the curriculum, and it is resulting in a very fundamental literacy problem, and not just in the reading of books, but in many different of what we used to call reading, writing, and arithmetic. You know, and it just really concerns me. So, you know, I was very, very pleased when I found out that my husband, Darrell Osborn, was working on, and by now it's actually, they've got several different children's books out. The first one, which he did with Gina Crawford, Gina and Darrell worked together on a couple of projects before they had the idea for this book. And so she wrote the little rhyme that goes in the book, and Darrell illustrated it. So the first book is all about rhymes, and you'll see there's a couple more books out now. I forget the titles, but you'll see the same characters pop up through the books. So, and these are intended for, you know, early grade school kids, you know, elementary school level. And they're really cute, and they really, they teach. but they teach in a fun way. I'm sitting here looking at the cover for All About Rhymes, and it's a dinosaur named Rex eating a bowl of yams. And it's adorable. So, I was just really, really pleased when I found out he was doing that. So
and a child is never too young to be read to either.
Oh, no. I knew how to read before I started school.
So did I, because my mother read to me. In fact, when I was in first grade and we had to sit in our little reading circle and we had these stupid little books called Dick and Jane.
Oh, yes. I got the tail end of the Dick and Jane, yes.
I would get in serious trouble because by the time they were on the second page, I was done with the book.
Uh-huh. And I'm sitting there bored stiff going,
uh-huh.
See Dick run. See Jane. See Dick run to Jane. Hi, Spot.
Uh-huh.
Spot run. And I'm like, oh, please.
Can we just move on to Pride and Prejudice? I mean,
but yeah.
And third grade, I'm reading on seventh grade level, and they don't understand why I'm bored in first grade with the Dick and Jane books.
Uh-huh. I had something similar. Now, don't get me wrong, those were good books. They worked for their purpose, but they need a bit more flexibility in the system.
Yes, they do.
So
they certainly do, because I'm through with the book, and granted, you're right. For children that struggle with reading, and there are children that struggle with reading for various reasons, dyslexia is one of them.
Oh, yes.
But those, and it's okay to start them out with those, because it's like you say, it makes the brain grow and work and do its job. But for those of us that really don't need Dick and Jane, we need Pride and Prejudice. Please let us read Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
Our brain's already grown that much.
I had a teacher in school tell me, she saw me checking out a book in the school library, and she told me that I wasn't allowed to check that book out to go put it back on the shelf.
You had that problem too?
And I said, why? And she said, because I'm going to teach it to you in your literature class next year. And I don't want you reading it until I get a chance to teach it to you. I waited until she left the library, and then I went and checked it out.
I was told that when I went from the little children's section over to the because we had first through seventh grade. So when I was in third grade, I was over in the seventh grade section, and I was told that I couldn't check out the big kid books because I wouldn't understand them. I said, really?
I think it was third grade, fourth grade, somewhere in there. The high school kids on the bus discovered me sitting, all quiet, reading a book. And they were shocked to see what book I was reading, because I was reading something that was like junior high or something. And I was reading it at a fairly rapid clip. So they were like, you don't understand what that is. Yes, I do. No, you don't. Tell me what it's about. So I told them. And then they started getting me to read from their textbooks. So by the time I was reading from the high school seniors biology textbook and pronouncing the words correctly and understanding what I was reading, they became convinced that, yes, she really does know what she's talking about. She can read this. So
she understands it. So ladies and gentlemen, what Stephanie and I both are basically saying is, number one, encourage your children to read. Read to your children from the day they're born, because trust me, they understand what you're reading to them.
My parents read to me from the time as early as I can remember. Uh-huh. And when I started getting interested in what those pages were they were reading from, they'd pick me up, put me in their lap, hold the book in front of me, and read from it, and I would follow the words. And that's how I began to learn to read.
And comprehend.
Yes. And so,
what?
Go
ahead, baby.
People don't do that anymore.
No, they don't. They're too busy.
And that's part of the reason why we have the problem that we do. The other part being the curriculum sucks. But
yeah, that would weigh in on it.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is read to your children, and if they come to you and they say, Mama, this book is too young for me, I need to move to the next level, let them expand to the next level. Even if they don't understand every word in the book, it doesn't matter. Give them a dictionary. Oh, that's a concept, a dictionary.
Hey, I did.
We don't even use dictionaries anymore.
I used to get the dictionary down, the encyclopedia. I can't tell you, there's nothing on TV. I would get the encyclopedia down and just start reading.
See, I knew I loved you for some reason. The dictionary and the encyclopedia were two of the most important books in my life.
Yes. And then I discovered, and this is going to sound really weird, but I remember when I was by the time I was in undergraduate school, the professors would start taking us out on trips to other universities or to meet this professional or that professional. And sometimes we'd have, fancy dinners and stuff like that. And I remember one guy who came from a well-to-do family, and he sat and he looked at the dinner table, and he didn't know what to do with what. But I had discovered my mother's etiquette book, and I read my way through it, too. So I understood, okay, this fork is this, and this knife is that, and I do this, and okay, this is the dessert spoon up here. All right, that's good. I'm good. Let's go. So, I read, if I didn't have anything else handy to read when I was eating breakfast, I would read the label on the cereal.
Yeah. Anything we could get our hands on, we read it. It's a beautiful thing. That's why I take 3 hours at the grocery store, because I read the labels.
I really wish, I get so sad. I've been to conventions where I'll be in a panel and we'll be talking about the relative merits of the book versus the movie.
Uh-huh.
And I remember this one kid, and he was like, I've never read the book. I don't read books. I can read, I just don't read them. I don't like to read. And I was just kind of like, how can you not want to see, if you liked the movie, you might like the book too. And there's no way, the books are way bigger than the movies. You cannot possibly cram everything in the book into the movie.
They leave out so much.
Yes, it's so much richer in the book. And I can't tell you the number of times that I have gone to see a movie and then immediately turned around and hunted up the book that the movie was based on and read it.
Uh-huh.
And I don't understand why kids today hate reading so much.
Because it takes up too much of their time. When they can go on and do a text message with 4 or 5 different letters that somebody's supposed to try to take the time to decipher, or when they can pop some earbuds in their ear and zone out to whoever knows what, they're not expanding their mind. They're taking the cheap way out, and they're doing themselves a disservice.
So the technology has essentially progressed to the point where they don't have the attention span. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they've done. We have been the creators of dumbing down our children.
That's a shame.
It is a shame. Everything that I know to do with technology, from my radio show down to my books, down to putting programs on my computer, I taught myself, and I taught myself by reading.
Yeah.
If I wanted a certain program and I didn't know where to go get it, I would research it. Then I would go get it. Then I would teach myself how to use it. If it meant that I had to go and print off the instructions or order a book, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I didn't. nobody taught me what I know in computer and how to network and how to market and how to link things and how to do different programs. I taught myself.
Yeah, I get that. When I got my first book contract, I decided I needed a website because that was the up and coming thing to do.
Uh-huh.
Well, I had to sit down and figure out first off where do I go to set up a website, and once I did, I discovered this computer language called HTML, which at the time was what most of the websites were being programmed in. And so I actually sat down, having been fortunate enough, my father was a computer programmer from the relatively early days of computer programming, back from punch cards and stuff. So, by the time other kids were finding out what decimal notation was, I was already counting in binary, octal, and hexadecimal. So
already there.
And so when I got to college, when I got into undergraduate school, I picked up a couple of different computer languages in my coursework and learned to program. So then I said, okay, now I got to learn this HTML stuff. And so I started digging into it and getting books and finding sites online and learning it. I said, oh, okay, this is just basically another computer language. It just controls the graphics on the screen. All right, I got this. And so my website is my programming. And if I need a change made, I go in and I modify the HTML coding on my website, and hey presto, there it is.
And again, because we have not, and you and I both go back to cursive, because we've not taught our children cursive writing.
And several other things.
But think about it. Cursive writing is its own HTML coding.
It really is.
We cheated them. We have cheated these kids so badly.
I agree. I can't argue that at all, and I feel really bad. And the kids don't get it. They think everything's fine, and they don't see the difference. They don't understand that they are losing some things. Each generation is losing a little bit more because we have stopped doing these things. And
we stopped being human. We stopped learning. We've become robots in our education, and that we only put in that which is self-gratifying for the moment. And we don't interact with each other anymore, not that way. I've seen too many people, and I'm talking adults here too, okay, who are more interested in communicating. They'll be sitting in the same room sending texts to each other. That's kind of stupid.
Yeah, it is. It's like, look up and talk. So, don't get me wrong. I love technology. Technology has enabled me to do all of the things that I have done with my life, from working in the space program to writing books. I honestly don't think I could have written the number of books that I have written if I had to write them all in longhand and submit them, to a publisher.
One at a time.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, you still believe in the human element. You go to the different cons and you get out among the people and have a conversation with them in order to put yourself out there.
Yes. And to me, that's really the only way to fly. So, and even in my books, those who read my books, to me, the two most important elements in a book are characters and plot.
Uh-huh.
And I would be hard-pressed to say which one is more important. I think to an extent it depends on the genre of book. But I think that if I have a good plot, if I've got a good story going, then I tend to concentrate on my characters because the plot will then flow.
That's true.
But I want the characters to be realistic. I want my readers to think of them as real people. And I've actually had some fan mail asking how various and sundry characters were doing and how they felt about this or that news event. And so I think I have accomplished that. But yes, it's that human element. I pay attention to people. I'll sit and people watch and just watch the interactions and or the lack thereof. And then I take all of that and I can feed it back into my writing. But I'm seeing a change in those interactions. I'm seeing a huge change in those interactions.
We've become technology challenged.
Well, in one way of speaking, yes, I think we have. In that we have become so focused on the technology that we are starting to neglect everything else.
Mm-hmm. When our granddaughter's here and we have dinner with her or take her to lunch, and she starts to pull out her phone, I'll say, Megan, you said you wanted to spend time with us, so spend time with us. Put the phone away.
Yep.
It's a habit. It's like it's like a friend of mine said. The first time it's a decision, but any time after that it becomes a pattern, which becomes a habit, and they have the habit of anytime they sit down they pull out the phone.
Yeah, and it's really kind of sad. I mean, to me, my phone, I've got a Droid. It's a smartphone. I refer to it as my outboard brain because it helps me remember things. You know, it has my calendar in it, so I don't forget things. I set up alarms to make sure that I don't forget them. I set up alerts, and if I'm out someplace and don't have access to anywhere else to write it down, I get an idea for a story. I pull up the Notes app and I scribble it down. I need to look something up because I'm actually writing on a story, but I'm in a hotel room and I don't have my laptop. I'm writing in a notebook, cursive writing there. I grab my phone and pull up the internet and look something up.
Your phone is a tool. It's not an extension of who you are.
Exactly. Yes, I refer to it as my outboard brain, but again, it's a tool. It's not literally part of my brain, and I don't really think of it like that. It's something to remind me of things so that I don't forget, because I stay pretty busy.
Well, and speaking of being busy, since we've annoyed our audience for 45 minutes talking about everything but Division 1, let's delve into that. I'm going to read this press release because I had to read it 3 times.
Okay.
Not because it's a bad press release, but because I'm going, she crammed all this into one book, how? Now, ladies and gentlemen, pay close attention to this. Chromosphere Press announces the latest from Stephanie Osborn. Stephanie Osborn, a.k.a. the Interstellar Woman of Mystery, former rocket scientist and an author of acclaimed science fiction mysteries, goes back to the urban legend of the unique group of men and women who show up at UFO sightings, alien abductions, etc., and make things disappear. To craft her vision of the universe we don't know about, her new series, Division 1, chronicles this universe through the eyes of recruit Megan McAllister, a.k.a. Omega, and her experienced partner, Echo, as they handle everything from lost alien children to extraterrestrial assassin attempts and more. Dr. Megan McAllister was already a pretty unique human. She was a NASA astronaut, professional astronomer, polymath, when she encountered the man in the black suit that night in West Texas. What Division 1 agent Echo didn't know when he recruited her to the agency was that she was even more special, but he'd find out soon enough. Book 1, Alpha and Omega, will be released in e-book formats on January the 10th, that's next Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, and in trade paperback on January the 24th. Now, Stephanie's got 7 more books, So when you read this book, you're probably going to be left hanging. Okay. We have mystery. We have aliens. We have sci-fi. We have probably a love story thrown in there. How in the world did you cram all that into one book?
Really good characters, a really fun romp of a plot, and just kicking back and having a good time with it. It does not end on a cliffhanger, by the way. It does solve. You know, I've had a couple of books in the past that I was forced to end on cliffhangers, and I've heard about it from readers. But that wasn't my choice. That was my publisher's choice. So, but yeah, this one does not end on a cliffhanger. But yes, I have, in this particular series, I have at least 8 more books planned. I'm working on book 2 now, which will be called A Short Medium at Large. Book 3 is A Very Unconventional Christmas. Book 4 is called Tour de Force. Books 3 and 4 are already written. And then I've got 5, 6, 7, and 8. I've got bits and pieces written down for those.
All right, let's start with book 1, Alpha and Omega.
Okay.
What is the premise of the book, and how did it come to be?
Well, I had the idea years ago, and I scribbled down some stuff, and nothing ever came of it, and I kind of shoved it out of the way, and lost track of it for years. And then I was talking to a friend, and he was like, "Well, you need to come up with some other series." And I said, "Well, you know, I've had this idea, and the concept was I'm dropping back. I mean, there's been so many. There's been movies. There's been various TV series about this urban legend of these people who show up at the UFO sightings and stuff, and make you forget and make things go away and disappear evidence and all that kind of stuff." And I thought, well, I'm going to write my own version. Everybody gets a kick out of it. I mean, you know, you've got X-Files, and you've got The Matrix, and you've got the Men in Black. You got all this stuff and more. Besides, I mean, you can go back. This has been, it's an urban legend that dates back decades.
Yep.
And so I decided I'm going to write my own take on it. And so I did. And the concept here is you have a galactic civilization, basically a galactic government, and you have each of the various star systems are signatory, participant in that government, and then the galaxy gets divided into effectively precincts, and so Earth is in the first precinct, Division 1, and so there is a shadow government, if you will, that enables Earth to participate in this galactic federation, and so it's the story of one woman who is brilliant scientist, has absolutely no idea that any of this stuff, these urban legends, these UFO nuts are real. They know what they're talking about. It's a real thing. When she winds up in the middle of a literal illegal alien bust, and she winds up getting sucked into the whole milieu and becomes a part of it. And that is her finding this out, her learning what it takes, passing their tests first off, learning what it takes to become an agent for this shadow government. It's a little bit science fiction. It's a little bit spy story, action adventure. You name it. I had fun with it. So she's assigned her trainer is one of the top agents in the agency, ECHO, and so he is effectively the senior partner to her rookie, and so now she has to learn, oh crap, I got to think about something like, does this alien know? Can this alien read my mind so that it knows what I'm planning before I do anything? Or can this alien manipulate the quantum foam so that as I'm reaching for something, it fades out? And things like this. So and yes, there are political coups going on other planets that spill over to Earth, and so you wind up and so it's basically an interstellar United Nations, if you will, with everything that goes along with it. And I got, not everything in the book is to be taken seriously. I did pull a lot of it from the UFO subculture. Some of it seems realistic to me, and some of it is just like, oh my gosh, they actually believe this, but hey, it will make a great storyline. Let's run with it. So yeah, I had a great good time with it, and I still am. I'm loving writing in this universe. So yes, I've got 8 books planned.
Well, would it be fair to say that it took a lot of research, because I'm sure you had to study Area 51 and alien sightings and all the stuff that goes along with that?
Surprisingly enough, I did a lot of that when I wrote my very first book. Burnout is about a space shuttle disaster that turns out not to have been an accident in the ensuing investigation and cover-up. And Area 51 figures highly into it. And so, yes, I had already done a lot of that sort of research in writing Burnout, which is a much more serious in tone sort of a book in many respects. And so all I really had to do for this one was go back, refresh my memory, lighten up the tone a bit, and run with it. So, yeah, I did some research for it, but a lot of it was stuff that I had already done. So it was just, I'm just going to build. It's like you've got a box of Legos, okay? Uh-huh. So you put the Legos together one way to create one book, and then you put the same Legos together a different way, and you've got a different book. So it's just how you use your reference material. So yeah, I had fun with this one. I had a lot of fun with it.
So the Kindle version will be out next Tuesday.
Yes, it will. It's already
and on
available.
It's already available for pre-sale.
Yes. And the 24th.
And then
go ahead.
I'll let you. The 24th, it'll be out in print version.
Yes, trade paperback.
Now, there is a con that you're getting ready to go to
real
soon.
There is.
Tell our audience about that.
I'll be at Chattacon in Chattanooga, Tennessee, at the Chattanooga Choo Choo, in fact. The entire convention is the 20th through the 22nd of January. I will be there on the 21st and 22nd. So the entire con is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll be there on Saturday and Sunday. And then next month, in February, I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia at Anachrocon on the 24th through the 26th.
Where in Atlanta will you be?
I'm trying to remember. Let me click on the link and tell you the name of the hotel here real quick, hopefully. Hotel information, that would be it right there. Atlanta Marriott Century Center.
Okay. And then in March, are you going to be someplace else?
No, I don't have another convention scheduled currently. I mean, things change, so that could change. But right now, my next convention is in June. I'll be the Science Guest of Honor at Con Carolinas in Charlotte, North Carolina. Then over the last week, the June transitioning into July weekend, I'll be back in Chattanooga at LibertyCon. In October, The weekend before Halloween, I'll be in Chattanooga for HaloCon. And then in November, I'll be back in Atlanta, Georgia for Conjuration.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there are many, many cons that you can go and check Stephanie out. And, yes, she will have her books, and I know she'll be more than happy to sign books for you. And because we are considered indie authors, it is very important that we be where our readers can get to us and can interact with us, because there we are with the human element thing again. If we just sit behind our computers and never get out, then we never get to meet those people that read our work. So I know that Stephanie would love to see each and every one of y'all at one of those cons that she's going to be at, working her fingers to the bone to kiss babies and shake hands and sign books. Right, Stephanie?
Absolutely. But you can also, if you want to go ahead and grab one of my books, you can go to, they're available from Amazon, they're available from Barnes & Noble. Pretty much most major booksellers will have most of my print books, and you can get everything available on Kindle. Most of it also on Nook, etc. So yeah, if you want one of my books, yes, it's available out there. Not a problem.
And you could even take the book with you to the con, and you don't even have to buy it that day. But if you have a brain cramp and forget to buy one, she will have them so that she can sign it for you. Support her, because I've read her books, and they keep me up at night because I can't put them down.
I'm proud to say that this past year I won my first award for one of my books. The first book in the Gentleman Aegis series, Sherlock Holmes and the Mummy's Curse, won a Silver Falchion Award at the Killer Nashville Mystery Convention. And my publisher has submitted the most recent Displaced Detective book, Fear in the French Quarter, for an Edgar Award. Now, for those of you who don't know what an Edgar Award is, Edgar Awards are to the mystery genre as the Oscars are to the film industry. So I'm really excited about that.
They are very prestigious awards, ladies and gentlemen, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer person. And I wish you all the luck. I hope you bring home the gold, my friend.
I hope so, too. I'm not holding my breath, but I'm up against some stiff competition, but, yeah, I would love it. It
could happen.
Just to have been submitted, for the award to me is a big deal. So I'm excited about it.
Well, we're all going to keep our fingers and toes and eyes and noses crossed and send up a few prayers, and hopefully you will get it. Wouldn't that be a coup?
That surely would. I would be excited. You would probably hear the scream all the way there in Florida from here in northern Alabama.
Hey, that would work. I said, yes, Stephanie won. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting low on time, and before we run out of time, I want to give you our lineup for the rest of the week. Tomorrow night, I'm going to have classic car aficionado Keith McDonald on. This should be an interesting show because he knows everything about classic cars. On October the 6th, which is Friday night, Melissa Pendergast, she owns Bella Lily Sunshine Designer. She designs children and adult clothing. And if you think that you can't get patterns offline, Melissa will tell you how. Saturday night, one of my favorite, horror author Frank Bettinger will be back with me, and who knows what we'll be talking about on that show. Anything is possible. So join us at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night, Friday night, and Saturday night, and learn things. And as I say at the end of every show, Stephanie and I are living our dream. You can too. And the main thing is to be true to yourself, love yourself, and like yourself. Stephanie, thank you, my dear, dear friend. And I'm bringing you back when you release that other book. So just let me know ahead of time so we can bring you back so we can talk about the second in this series.
All right. Sounds good.
And And thank you for taking an hour out of your life and spending it with me. I appreciate it so much.
Oh, thank you for having me back. That means a lot when a host enjoys our conversations enough to want me back. So.
Oh, honey, the hour flies by. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting down to the last final seconds, and I want to say that if you will pass this show along, we are out of here, and we will see you tomorrow night. Hang on just a minute, Stephanie. We are 2 listeners. No, we're 8 listeners from having 2,000 listeners just on this show. Woohoo! So this show should put us over 2,000.
Excellent. Congratulations.
And we are, with all the podcasts, which I'm going to send you the links to all the podcasts, and I'll send you the archives once it goes up, and you spread it everywhere. Be sure and repost it and put it on your website so people can hear the interview, my gift to you. But with all the podcasts and everything else, we are at 6,500-plus listeners.
Fantastic.
So we're growing. We're growing by leaps and bounds. I am so proud of my guest. I am just so tickled to death for y'all.
Well, we appreciate you immensely, Yvonne. I can say that without doubt.
Well, y'all are what makes me look good. Y'all make me look good. So I'm going to get off from here. I'm going to get off from here and get this thing archived and get it. And probably tomorrow before I get the podcast up. But as soon as I show archives, I'll tag you in it. And then when I get the podcast up, I'll tag you in it.
Okay, sounds good.
And let me know when you get ready to release that other book, so we can slot you in on a date.
All right, it should be in April if nothing splits, rips, or tears.
Okay, let me know for sure because I want to go ahead and get you down before the April fills up.
Okay.
All right, my darling. Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There is more to me, Queen Eliara of Elfgard, than my elven magic. Just as there's more to Geico than saving you money, Geico also gives you 24/7 access to licensed agents online, on the phone, or on the Geico app. And while I am a mighty elf queen, I am also a mighty big fan of barbecue potato chips. Minions! More smoky mesquite.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Hi, this is Maury Moreland Morrison, here to tell you Geico has more than just great savings. Much more. Yes, while Geico could help you rack up more moolah faster than you can say metamorphosis, they've also been the fastest growing auto insurer for more than 10 years. That's more like it. Furthermore, Geico has fast and friendly claim service. That might seem like an oxymoron, but it's not. All the more reason to say no other auto insurer has more than Geico. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.